Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. So we're going to be working on the BMW again, and today I'm going to be fitting a little modification. Many of you might know it, many of you won't know it, which can help you in a lot of instances. I've got them fitted to all my bikes, every single one, purely because it has saved me a lot of times, especially when you want to escape from the law. There's many times you need to do that, and this is why this modification comes in very, very handy to allow you to do that. Obviously, if you're a good rider and you know you've got 1000cc plus, then obviously this modification is definitely for you. If you've got a 600cc plus, there's no point, because if police get behind you, you ain't getting away anyway. So you wouldn't benefit from really having this modification on your bike. The only reason you would is from obviously speed cameras and people with dash cams and things like that. If you're acting stupid on the roads, to not let anyone get your plate to report you. But if police get behind you, it's pointless anyway, because they're going to get you. So let's get on to this, and I'm going to show you what modification I'm talking about. So you'll see here, this is the rear of my BMW S1000Rr, and you can already see I've got the number plate on it. That's because as soon as I get these bikes, I rip the big number plates off them immediately. I don't run with no big number plate at all on my bikes. That is just asking for trouble and asking to be caught for stupidness. You know, you want to be able to ride free, not have a load of fines and people, you know, reporting you and things like that. So therefore my plates are ripped off straight away. Did the same with my Jigsaw when I bought it, threw the plate in the bin the moment I bought it, and did the same with most of my bikes. All the big plates go straight in the bin. I do not use them. Same thing on this one, and now we're going to be removing this whole tail because I want to make it look fresh, and obviously I want to do a modification to it. Many of you already know the modification if you're in the biking scene. If you're not, you're about to learn a new modification for your bike that you can do. So we're going to start by removing all of this undertail, and obviously the indicators, because they're actually fixed to the tail bracket itself. We're going to be removing that, and then I'm going to be showing you what we're going to be getting on with and doing. So I'm going to remove the seat cowl first, because obviously I need to get to the wiring from the rear number plate light as well, because we're going to have to sort that out. So I've done a lot of these, so I know exactly how to remove them, what I'm doing and what to do. So obviously the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the indicators from this tail, because we need to get them off, because they're going to be moved to our new unit. And this isn't just your normal standard tail tidy that I'm fitting. I'll make that clear before I even start it. Just get these bolts out. Now the indicators should come off and free like that, and then you just have to turn them just to get them to come out just like that. Then what we've got to do is release all the bolts here from the tail, which there's going to be 3 of them, and you've got your other one up here just like that, and you'll see everything just drop down. And once that's all dropped down, what we're going to have to do here is we've got to now sort out trying to remove all the indicators off this right here, off these tails, which we're going to do. Now we've just got a ground wire on top of the cowl, which we need to just remove to take the whole thing out. So now we've got the whole thing out of there. Right guys, so when I've took off the old tail, what I've had to do to make this work in sync with this one is, you can see here I've had to cut off the indicators for the wiring. I'm gonna have to rewire them back up into the actual pigtail harness, purely because you can't get them off without doing that. So you've had to disconnect them from wiring, you have to hardwire them back. You can see I've managed to connect them. Now these brackets don't come with bolts. This is the actual flip and dip unit for the S1000Rr. And you can see there, I've got the number plate light, and this is actually a flipper. So this is a flipper unit, so it will sit like that on the bike, and you will just flip it and your plate's gone, just like that. Now, I ordered all the accessories because I needed to, so the indicator adapters to put the indicators on from the other tail. So, like I said, you just cut them off, and you leave the wires here, and I'm going to show you how to wire them all back up into the original loom. You've also got your new number plate light, so you can get rid of the old one. And you've obviously got these butt connectors here. One's going to go into the live anyway, but the other one we're going to have to ground with the loop back to where we removed it from in the old one, because we don't have another butt connector. but they don't give you bolts in the pack to be able to attach the indicators to the bracket, so you need to get your own bolts. I managed to find someone, I've attached this onto my one, so it's done. But many people are going to get confused this when they come to do this on their S1000, that they're thinking, okay, it's got no bolts, how do I connect the indicators up to the tail? You just connect them up like this. You can see which way I've got them on here. So they go this way round. You'll be able to see on there which way they've gone round. The indicator goes through here. Then you use the original bolts that you disconnect the indicators from to put them back on. And then this is the side which actually attaches to the tail. So you leave your carbon tail in there, you remove everything else from it, but you put your carbon tail back and you bolt this up along with the carbon tail to obviously tidy it all up so it looks nice and tidy underneath. You don't get rid of that carbon piece, you just got to pull the wiring out. So as I said, the easiest thing is to take the tail out, the wiring harness out, so that way you can cut the indicators long enough to be able to reconnect them after. But that's all done now. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is install the locking shim, because I like to run the locking shim purely for law enforcement, because as many of you guys know, in the UK, the police like to get onto you. And if you don't have the shim in it, then they like to cause you a load of mayhem. So we're going to be installing the shim anyway. I always buy that as an extra part. You can order from Flip and Dip himself to put locking shim in. Many people don't, but I always order it. I run them on all of mine, not that I use a locking shim, but you never know if you're around police in your station area. I like to put the shim in, keep my plate out just to be on the safe side. This is how the shim comes in this packet right here, all the bolts. I'm going to show you how to install it all so you guys understand how it all goes, and yeah, I'll show you how it all works properly, and yeah, and then I'll show you how it locks up after using the shim, because obviously you can't tighten the bolts too tight either, otherwise you will be in big problems. So I'm going to go ahead and take out all these bolts. You need to take out every single one, and they're all Loctite bolts, so you can't get them mixed up. Just want to take out every single bolt you can, and do this on a clear area purely because you want to be able to see where all the bolts go. And you're going to see that bracket's going to disconnect from here now, and you need to take off the whole piece. And you can always tell the main ones, because they're blue, when you get the other ones out of the packet, they've got blue in them as well, but so it doesn't matter which way they go, they're all the same anyway. But that's the bit that you want to release, and now this part is off. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're just going to put this up here just like that, just to hold it in place. And this is what we're going to bolt down first, this piece, like just like that on the tail. And what you're going to want to do is get your Flip and Dip bracket, and then we're going to get the bolts, and we're going to put one in here, one into here, because they give you new bolts, not to use the old ones. One in here, and then one into there. And then what we're going to do with the locking shim, we're just going to place this over here. We'll try and get one of the bolts into situ, just like that. Then we'll clamp one of them down, just like that. Then we're just going to do the other four, just like that. Obviously the others are jumping out, so we'll just do that one as well. Now you got to do is just make sure, obviously once you've installed the shim, that this piece is all flat completely. You don't want it sticking out at all, purely because this is the piece that's going to lock in place. As you can see there, it's underneath here. That's where the actual shim piece, this piece, when we pull it in, is actually going to go to lock it in. It will go up like that into there when we flip the plate to keep it stable. You'll see here, it goes into there like that, and it keeps it from flipping, as you can see. So you need to make sure that's fully down, ready to put the other piece in. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to put these two washers over here, because these washers need to sit flat onto this one. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do, we've got new bolts here. We're just going to align two bolts again, just like this, and sit them in place. You do have to be obviously careful with this. Make sure everything's flat, otherwise it will not go on. What we're going to go ahead and do is we'll now put this onto here, and then we're going to try and that's one in. Now we need to get the other one in. As you can see, it is quite fiddly to do. So we just push that down, just like that. That one's now in. And just like that, that washes in. So now they're tightened down. So now what we're gonna go ahead and do is we'll bend that back this way, and we're gonna put the locking shim in. So we're just going to release these a bit because they're too tight, just like that. And we're just going to push that, insert that into here, because you can see it comes up and goes into there, so it stops it going back. So we need to make sure that we get the right amount of play here. So you can see the locking shims in there. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is bolt the locking shim down. Now with the locking shim, what you've got to do is make sure you don't over tighten these, because otherwise it will not slide in now easily. So you've got to be careful with this, not to over tighten them. And that's what I'm going to show you. These ones can be tightened down, but these ones cannot be. So you'll see here, that's how it comes in and out. Then that's how it goes back in. You'll see there now, that's the locking shim. And now you can't move it, so that locks the plate in position. And if you pull the locking shim out, you can flip very easily. That's why it's called flip and dip. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to loosen these a bit more because they are a little bit too tight. So we don't want them too tight, but you also don't want them where the bolts are going to come out and you're going to risk losing the bolts. So you can see there, got the perfect amount of friction to be able to move the locking shim. You can move it around, but you also it ain't going to seize up either. You want it to be able to be used, which is one of the reasons why, as I said, we're doing it like that. So you can see my locking shim is perfectly working. And now that's the locking shim onto the flip and dip. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is install this back to the bike. I'm going to show you how to wire up all your indicators again. We're going to make sure everything's working and get everything reconnected. So you can see here, I've already got the tail in place ready to be reconnected. And like I said, we're going to go ahead and reconnect it. I don't want to connect anything up. I don't want to put the plug back on yet, purely because we've got no electric. We've got all wires exposed, so we're not blowing fuses, so we don't want that. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to not do that to ourselves. So we're just gonna literally just do what we've got to do with the wiring. I want to keep all the wiring up there. And then what we're gonna have to do here is try and put the first bolt back in here. Just like that. Now all we're doing for that is just to hold it. Now, flip and dip do give you 2 new bolts with washers to use as well. Now the reason I ain't bolting it fully up just yet is because I've got to stick the number plate light through this as well, through this gap, and tuck it up as well through the tail. So now we've got these all through. Now what I'm going to do is just pull these through. This is for the number plate bulb. Really, 2 hands always better than 1 in a job like this, because this job is a bit fiddly to do on your own. So guys, we finally managed to get this all connected up onto this S1000Rr. What an absolute nightmare. Flip and dip really need to give people instructions, because unlike me, a lot of people ain't gonna be professionals in fitting this, and they're gonna need to understand how to fit it. So I'm gonna try and explain for many people who are gonna buy this and come across the issues I did. So the first issue I come across when doing this flip and dip is the indicators. So they don't give you bolts to hold the indicators on with the indicator brackets. So you're gonna have to have your own bolts ready to install them. And you're also gonna have to twist these indicators upwards. And that's purely because when you put these indicator brackets on, the indicator's actually facing downwards at a slant. You're gonna have to literally turn them once they're bolted up, to turn them at a certain degree to lift them up, to put them in line and in position with the actual tail. Now, one other thing you have to do, which is a must or your lens will be poking out, is take the lens off, and you're gonna have to crack the tabs that actually push on to this plastic grommet in the back here, inside the indicator, because if you don't, it's always gonna be sticking out of the lens and you're gonna end up having water ingress get inside, which will end up damaging the bulb and all the electrics inside it as well. So you're gonna have to cut the tabs off to make sure the lens actually shuts closed before you do that. The other thing is, you're gonna have to cut off your indicators from the old tail, and you're gonna have to wire them all back up. I've done all the wiring. You can see here, this is the wiring harness coming out the back here, and they're just gonna be hanging like this. You've got no choice but to have it like that, purely because You've got all the tails here for the indicators, which are long. And this is where it originally come out from, as you guys would have seen on the original one. So it has to actually stay like that. The next thing is with this number plate light, that when you run it in there, they give you butt plugs, but you're gonna have to cut them off and just either hardwire them or do it another way to make it work, because obviously most bikes don't come with the butt plug connectors, so therefore you're not gonna be able to just connect it. R&G, if you use an R&G one, they come with a connector straight to connect up to the bike, but these bikes don't even have a connector to connect straight up for it, so therefore you have to make that work. Also, the shim, they do tell you to put it this way, but the problem with it being like this, you need to turn it the opposite way, because when you put your plate, your normal plate is going to sit on here. This shim part is going to be in the way, and if this is in the way, how you meant to lock it closed, you need to turn it around. So this is going to have to be flipped round, which I'm going to do. I'm going to have to turn it around. But overall, they do give you 2 new bolts inside to bolt the flipping dip bracket up onto the tail tidy here, onto the tail, but do not use their bolts. Their bolts do not fit and do not actually mount it properly at all. Use the original bolts that you take off from the tail here and bolt it back up. If you don't, you're gonna run into problems, and make sure to keep the bolts for the indicators, the nut and the Torx bolt, because they do not give you them either. So you're gonna have to reuse your old ones. It is a bit of a fiddly job. It's probably one of the hardest ones I've had to do on any bike, because all the other ones I've done have been very, very easy. This has been the hardest one I've had to do on the S1000Rr, because the way BMW make it, I suppose that you have to reconfigure everything for the tail to make the flip and dip actually work. But you can see here, it fully works, it flips up. This is the locking shim, and we'll put that in, then it won't go nowhere, as you can see there. But if you want to flip it, you pull the shim, it will flip up. Like I said, this shim we've got to change around purely because a plate won't fit here. As you can see, that's going to be blocking it, so the plate will just be sticking up, and the plate mounts to here with 2 bolts, so that's going to have to be turned around so you can actually put the shim in. But overall, the wiring, there's nothing you can do about that at all. I had to just wrap it back in black tape, which someone had already previously done. They wrapped it in black tape with plastic insulation. Done all the wiring perfectly for the indicators. Everything is now working. All I've got to do now is actually put my plate on. But if you guys do get confused or you can't figure out what to do, then do comment below and I'll be able to tell you how to do it, because it is a bit fiddly. Just make sure you have your own bolts though for the indicator holders, and you're going to need to get them. For the S1000Rr, you need to have them. Obviously the docking shim is optional, you don't need to have that. The number plate light again is optional, it depends if you want their one or you want an R&G one. I chose to go with their one. It's completely up to you, but as for the flip and dip bracket, obviously they're very good anyway. They're very well known as well, flip and dip. But the indicator holders, yes, they come like that. You just have to turn your indicators into the position you need them, because otherwise, like I said, they'll be pointing downwards, and you don't want indicators pointing downwards onto the floor. You need them up so everyone can be able to see them. So just make sure to do that, and obviously just trim off the plastic bits that lock into the plastic behind you. Take out the Phillips screw here, and you'll see it on the indicator itself. You pull it out and there's little plastic tabs, snap them off and it will sit back flush perfectly. If you don't, you're gonna have an issue. But that's all there is to it, guys. Like I said, the wiring is the most difficult, but you don't mix them up. They are color coordinated, so you can't get them mixed up, especially the live ones. The ground ones are all the same, but the live ones have a different color for each one, for each side, left and right. So you cannot mix it up. All it is rewiring them back up after you've cut them off, and then just tidying up all your wiring and putting it in place. So there you go, guys. That's the flip and dip bracket installed on this BMW S1000Rr. As I said, it is my first time actually doing it on the S1000Rr. I've never actually done it before on one of these. On the Gixxers, I've done it many times. On the Kawasaki's, I've done it many times. Very, very easy to fit on them. The BMW was a lot harder, but that's because, as you know, BMW like to make everything complicated with their Torx bolts, the way they wire everything. They do it on purpose, so it's not easy for the normal individual to be able to redo anything that they want to do. They'll have to go somewhere, either to them or take it somewhere, which is going to cost a lot of money. That's why I've tried to do this video, showing you guys as I'm going along how to do it. As I said, the next time if I ever did another one, I would know how to do it now, straight out of the box to record everything. But I didn't realize that flip and dip don't include the bolts for the indicator brackets, which is something they need to be doing, because you're going to come across someone who's not like me, who don't have a garage full of bolts, nuts, washers everywhere, who can just do that, and people ain't going to be aware of that. That's why I'm making you guys aware, in case you do buy ones that have bolts ready to put on, because they do not come with it. Realistically, for the money they charge for that bracket, they should really be including that, especially what they charge for the indicator brackets as well, but they don't, unfortunately. As I said, you're gonna have to rewire everything, the indicators, your number plate light, the lot. Just remember where everything comes from. Remember the whole tail unclips from inside the seat cowl, and you can take it all out and work on it on a bench or on the floor, whatever you need to do. Make it all work for you, sort it all out, figure it all out, and then pull it back together. It is quite fiddly because the wiring harness is quite heavy, but just do not get rid of the bottom piece, the bottom plate for underneath your tail, because otherwise it'll look completely horrendous. Underneath there, it's got the carbon tail underneath there, which is running with the wiring harness. As I said, just make sure you keep that, cut the rest off. You don't no longer gonna need that, but the tail end you're gonna need for the bracket to make it look tidy underneath. I hope this video is gonna help many of you guys be able to fit this now to your BMW S1000R. Thank you very much for watching. It's BMW Dr. Dean here, and goodbye.